Chapter 19 of The Adventures of Puss in Boots Jr. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mickey Lee Rich. The Adventures of Puss in Boots Jr. by David Cory. Puss and Jack make a bold rescue. It was midnight in the giant's house. Puss Jr. heard the great clock strike 12. Softly, he tiptoed down the stairs, holding his boots in one paw and his staff and cap in the other. When he reached the great living room, he peeped cautiously in. There sat the giant in the big armchair, fast asleep, the poor little hen that laid the golden eggs lying on the table, not daring to move. "How dare he break his word?" said Puss to himself. "He promised if I told him stories last night that he would not make the little hen lay her daily golden egg. Now he has gone and broken his promise." The little hen moved uneasily and looked appealingly at Puss. "What can I do?" he said to himself. Suddenly a bright idea came into his head, and turning toward the kitchen, he opened the door very softly and peered in. To his great delight, he saw Jack sound asleep in the big rocking chair that the giant's wife sat in during the few moments of the day in which she was not hard at work. Puss Jr. carefully set his boots down near the door and walked over to Jack. Fearing he might let out a cry of surprise upon seeing him, Puss paused. "How shall I waken him without startling him?" he asked himself. It was indeed a problem. Should Jack give a scream, the giant would wake and rush in, then all would be lost. It was a trying moment for Puss Jr. Suddenly, an owl hooted outside. Jack slowly opened his eyes. "Shh!" cautioned Puss quietly. "Be careful." "Don't worry," replied Jack in a whisper. "I've no desire to make the acquaintance of the giant. He wouldn't care for my stories. He'd just eat me up." "That he would," said Puss. "He's no good either. He broke his promise to me last night." And then Puss told Jack how the giant said he would let the little hen off for once if Puss would tell some of his adventures. "And I spent all last evening telling him stories till I was tired out," concluded Puss. "And now he has kept that poor little hen by his side all night long. She's in the great living room on the table, not daring to move. And the giant has the gold egg tightly grasped in his hand." "Let's rescue the little hen," said Puss. "How can we?" asked Jack. "Why, just run off with her," replied Puss. "Where to?" said Jack, for he was still rather sleepy, and his mind was not working as rapidly as Puss Jr.'s. "Take her home to your mother," whispered Puss. Together they crept into the room where the giant still lay snoring. Jack carefully picked up the little hen and started for the door. As he did so, he knocked Puss Jr.'s staff from his paw. "Run!" cried Puss as the giant opened his eyes. They fell upon Puss, for Jack had disappeared down the beanstalk. "You have stolen my hen!" he roared. Puss started in another direction and the giant after him. Just then the little owl who had awakened Jack flew near and called out, "The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat." And this is the way Puss Jr. escaped from the wicked giant. End of chapter 19. Read by Mickey Lee Rich.